Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. We need quiet. We are ready to begin the 17th Montgomery County Coaches Hall of Fame. Thank you all. Welcome to our beautiful new home, Presidential Caterers, our first year. We've held this in some wonderful venues in the past. We moved to a new room to accommodate all of you in this big crowd. Isn't it nice? Very comfortable surroundings. We thank everybody at Presidential Caterers for this. My name is Tony Leodora. I am one of the founding fathers of the Coaches Hall of Fame. It all began many, many years ago at a winter beef and ale type thing where a bunch of old jocks stood around, and four of us noticed that all of the old athletes congregated around their coaches as if they were drawn by a magnet. And the founding fathers, myself, Jim Davis, John Pergine, and our president, Dale Hood, said there's something special about the attraction between coach and player, and Montgomery County has the greatest legacy of leadership that we've ever seen. So for 17 years, we've been inducting people into this very special Hall of Fame, and then also honoring volunteer coaches who started us all when we were little on the road to a love of sports. We also have a new home for the Hall of Fame this year. It was a historic year for us. We moved our Hall of Fame to the main hall, the Great Hall, of the new Health and Sciences building at Montgomery County Community College. I'm sure many of you have occasion to go through there through the years. When you see this grand hall and see these plaques on display there, you will have no doubt that we are inspiring the great coaches of the future. And that is important. There is no greater job in this world than the leadership, instruction, and discipline of the youth of America. So, thank you all very much for being part of this great Hall of Fame. If I can ask you to make sure that your cell phones are off, we're going to go through this evening very quickly. And right now, I would like to introduce our head table. Starting from my far left, you'll see much more and hear much more about these people as the evening goes on. Dick Beck, head football coach, North Penn High School. Our first Vice President, Jim Sarator. Inductee and former Plymouth Whitemarsh wrestling coach, Bob Lawrence. Yeah, wrestler spirit, Bob, huh? Our president, as I said, Dale Hood. Our guest speaker for the evening on a coach's night, the coach of coaches, Dick Vermeil. Our Lifetime Achievement Award winner, special award, wait till you hear this story, Bruce Williams. Second Vice President, Tom Brady. Jenkintown High girls basketball coach, Jim Romano. And former North Penn High boys track coach, now girls track coach, Richard Schweiker. And as I said, we are here to honor the volunteer coaches who do so much for us. It all begins with them. We owe them such a debt of gratitude, and it was a stroke of genius to add this to our Hall of Fame. Please read the story about the honor roll in our program book, with special credit to one of our founding fathers, Jim Davis, whose idea it was to honor community coaches, Elise Baker, Ed Molnar, Kevin Constable. Where is Kevin? We lost Kevin I saw him earlier. Kevin's in the bathroom. Don't embarrass him when he comes back, please. Pee-pee break for Kevin. Okay. And Mark Seifer. And one of the highlights of our banquet every year is bringing back the great inductees and coaches of the past. It all started 17 years ago with a first induction class of Tom Lasorda. I'm not going to argue greatest, but I will tell you right now, there is no argument. The most famous baseball manager ever. He was known by the Pope knew him. And I don't mean Paul Owens, I mean the real Pope. Hank Stofko, the winningest basketball coach in Pennsylvania high school history, Plymouth Whitemarsh High School. And Beth Handers, all she did was win 10 NCAA field hockey championships at Old Dominion University after what is arguably the greatest career as a female athlete in American history. She was Babe Ruth, believe me. That was our first class, and it went on after that. So our coaches who have come back right now: Larry Wilson, Ambler Olympic Club, track and field. Bob Beal, Cheltenham High School, track and field. Yeah, this is track and field row here. Josh Culbreth, Olympian. Ernie Hodrick, Bishop Kenrick High School and Norristown High, track and field. Joe Iacoviti, Archbishop Kennedy football, Plymouth Whitemarsh football. Will Knapp, Souderton volleyball. George Marinkoff, Methacton football. Kathy Miller, Methacton softball and tennis. And I know she's coming. She's on her way. Sherry Retief is on her way. Germantown Academy girls basketball. She'll be here shortly. More girls basketball. Bob Schaefer, former Cheltenham High girls basketball coach. And Bob Shout, high school, college, track and field coach for many, many different schools. A legend, recently inducted into the Pennsylvania Sports Hall of Fame. All right, with that, it is time to get us started, as we will at any great sporting event. And this is the preeminent sporting event in Montgomery County every year. You don't doubt it? Look at these stars that are here. Look at all the people assembled. You won't find anything like this. So with that, I would like to call up for the national anthem, Olivia Bedell from Limerick, Pennsylvania, Montgomery County, to sing our national anthem. Please stand and face the flag.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light, what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, Olivia, so much. I think I just heard the voice of an angel. All right, folks. One of the things I wish that we didn't do every year, and some years we don't, but unfortunately this year, we need to remember a couple who have left us this year. One of our former inductees, a great wrestling coach, Bill Rasich, and also one of our past Lifetime Achievement Award winners, the patriarch of the Little Quakers program, Bob Levy. We miss them both. If we can please have a moment of silence to remember them. God bless them both. With that, I would like to call on our President, Dale Hood, for his annual message.
Thank you, Tony. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 17th Annual Coaches Hall of Fame dinner. A legacy of leadership we honor each year. Tonight's winners, our community coaches, have fit that mold as in the past 16 years. Welcome. To the people in the audience, I truly want to thank you for taking time out of your schedule to come support us to what we think is the best sporting event like this in the Montgomery County. We do this once a year. Thank you very much. When I was elected president a couple of years ago, I told a couple of my friends on the board, just in conversation, that through my term, I would like to have Dick Vermeil as our guest speaker. Well, come August and September of this year, we were able to facilitate that by Coach Vermeil agreeing to be with us tonight. His win and loss record is fabulous. But if you think in the Delaware Valley, the whole Philadelphia area, when you think of a coach, he hasn't coached here in a number of years, but in my opinion, he is the legacy of leadership chairman of the board, and we're so honored to have you, Coach. And I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge Bill Daggett. Would you stand up, please? Bill Daggett from Kistler Tiffany Benefits was the gentleman that was able to facilitate Coach Vermeil being here. As you can well imagine, to put a dinner like this together, we have a board. In my presidency, we don't call it a board, we call it a team. Starting with Gordon Glantz, our selection committee chairman, and the rest of the board team, please stand up and take a bow. Again, thank you very much, and have a wonderful holiday season. Thank you.
Thank you, Dale. With that, it's time for our invocation. We'd like to call on board member Rick Tronsoliti.
Good evening. If I could ask you to bow your heads for a moment. Father in heaven, as we gather here this evening during this season of Thanksgiving to honor and celebrate the accomplishments of the fine men and women who are being honored tonight, we want to pause to thank you for these wonderful people who have given so much of themselves and their lives. We ask that you watch over all coaches here and throughout the world who unselfishly give their time and effort on and off the playing fields, gymnasiums, diamonds, courts, rinks, and tracks, and ask that they continue to give positive guidance and lifelong lessons inspired by your teachings to all of our youth. We pray that you will watch over the families and friends of all coaches who have supported them in their efforts to encourage young men and women to follow in their footsteps. Help them to continue to provide examples of leadership and teaching wise lessons, as well as positive values such as those being honored have done on behalf of so many of us in attendance this evening. Finally, we ask that you bless this food which we are about to receive from thy bounty, for it is from you from whom all good things come. Amen.
Thank you, Rick, very much. Just a reminder, we have a raffle going on. Our board members, Mark Werkheiser and Joe Manzo, will pass through one more time. Great prizes on this. We've got a Cadillac for a weekend from Armin Cadillac. We've got a basket of goodies from New Wave Salon with treatments and all kinds of things there. An autographed Bobby Shantz baseball. Make sure you get your tickets. And we also have a group of memorabilia pieces from the Dick Vermeil Eagles era, helmet signed by, miniature helmet by John Bunting, and a photo of Frank LeMaster, and a number of these things, including, and this is priceless, an autographed, game-worn Vince Papale jockstrap that Coach Vermeil brought all the way up from Chester County. He held it out the window through the entire way, airing it out, and it is, I mean, this is really something special, okay? So, please, buy some raffle tickets, enjoy the dinner, bon appetito. We'll be back in a little bit with some special announcements and introductions.
All right, folks, take your seats. We're ready to begin. Mark, Joe, yeah, you can close that off now. If you go out front and pull the tickets, Eddie will work with you to pull the winners. Last chance. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I have your attention, please. This is the time you all came for. The opportunity to honor our great coaches who are being inducted into the Hall of the Fame, as well as the community coaches who will be honored tonight by going into our honor roll. Joe and Mark, I need those winning ticket numbers in 4 minutes, please. A couple of housekeeping items. The lobby bar will stay open after the banquet. It's always a wonderful... Hey, I need your attention, folks, please. Thank you. The lobby bar will stay open after. It's always a wonderful time to gather, honor your coaches, the other athletes here. Some great stories are always told at that particular time, so know that you're welcome to stay. Presidential Caterers is here to serve you. For those of you who are wondering how somebody gets nominated for our Hall of Fame, or for the honor roll. As we mentioned, Gordon Glantz is the selection committee chairman. We take resumes, written resumes, with the accomplishments of coaches throughout the county, those who have been born here, those who coached here, and you submit them to him. You can also go to our website, MCCHOF, Montgomery County Coaches Hall of Fame, and you can nominate people there. Same thing with the honor roll. Tom Brady, our second vice president, chairs that committee, takes nominations. So again, through the website you can do that, or contacting any of our board members directly. I hope you take special note of the commemorative program book that has been on all of your seats and your tables tonight, put together by our first vice president, Jim Sarator, who does an amazing job every year.
Take the time to read the stories in there. There are some great stories, and we thank the writers who wrote in there: Gordon Glantz, Rick O'Brien, Kevin Hunter. They certainly tell some great stories about these people, the inside stories that bring them to life. We also had a special state recognition from Senator John Raffle, a proclamation that was handed down from the Pennsylvania Senate. We thank him very much for that. Without reading the entire proclamation, we will tell you that it commemorates the Coaches Hall of Fame for 17 years of honoring this special legacy of leadership. Thank you, Senator Rafferty and the entire Pennsylvania State Senate. Okay, it is raffle time. While they're bringing up the numbers, and all you do here is I'm going to announce the winning numbers in order. You hear your number, jump up, run out to the front desk. First one there gets first choice of all of our prizes, including 3 autographed bottles, 1 prize each, of Vermeil wines autographed by Dick Vermeil. Fabulous wine from Napa Valley, and a great keepsake. You'll want to save that bottle. So I'm waiting for them to bring up that. In the meantime, I will tell you about, again, our move of the Hall of Fame to the Montgomery County Community College, the great hall of the Health and Sciences building. A special thank you to Dr. Kevin Pollack, who spearheaded the effort, and our board member, Jeff Brandon, who really put the entire Hall of Fame together out there, and it is spectacular. When they were actually installing the plaques, a girl who was working in the fitness center there came over to me and said, "What's this all about?" I said, "It's a Coaches Hall of Fame." She said, "Wow, I just got hired as an assistant coach at Upper Dublin High School." I said, "Well, really, that's great. Where did you go to college?" She said, "Old Dominion University." I grabbed her and took her by the hand and I said, "See this first row of plaques? There's Beth Anders, 10-time national champ, Old Dominion University. This girl played lacrosse at Old Dominion. She was overwhelmed by it. She said, this is daily inspiration for me to become a great coach." That was a wonderful story and really happened. All right, with that, I would like to introduce our board member, Joe Rowan, for the start of the special honoring of our honor roll recipients.
Thank you, Tony, and thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Particularly at this time of year, as we're all here to celebrate this happy time of Thanksgiving with family and friends. The Community Coaches Honor Roll at the Montgomery County Coaches Hall of Fame was really formed to search the entire county, all four corners of it, to find those volunteer coaches that truly embody the spirit of coaching. It was really the vision of founding father Jim Davis in 2004. And I think each one of us in this room at some point in our lives have had a volunteer coach that had a really positive influence on us, on our children, or maybe our grandchildren at some point in our lives. You think about the grassroots of the sports traditions in this country, and those volunteer coaches are the ones that laid the groundwork for teaching us the fundamentals of the game, sportsmanship, teamwork, and hopefully help pave the way for a lot of greater accomplishments that our children have had in their life. So in 2004, again, Jim Davis came up with this concept, and tonight we induct number 51, 52, 53, and 54 volunteer coaches that represent the entire span of our county. So here is my ask of all of you, and Tony mentioned this earlier. We need your help in identifying and acknowledging these individuals that are impacting our communities. So go onto the website, mcchof.org, or talk to the board member that you're here with this evening and get us these resumes. There are a ton of people out there that need to be acknowledged, and we need your help. So I'm sorry for the shameless plug. Our four honorees this evening are Elise Baker of Bluebell, Ken Constable of North Wales, Ed Molnar of Harleysville, and Mark Seifer in Narberth. Lives in Springfield, Delaware County, but coaches in Montgomery County. And they proudly join the people up on the dais here tonight, Dick Beck, Bob Lawrence, Jim Romano, Richard Schweiker, and our Lifetime Achievement Award winner, Bruce Williams. So at this time, what I would like to do is, in alphabetical order, introduce the four inductees to the honor roll of the Montgomery County Coaches Hall of Fame. So first is Elise Baker. And she is escorted by Gordon Glantz. So Elise, stay up there. So Elise is a relative newcomer to Montgomery County. She's an Army wife of a twice-deployed husband and is a working mother of two teenage girls. So after her husband's transfer here, in 2015, she became immediately involved in softball coaching with the Ambler Junior Baseball and Softball. And that quickly escalated for Elise. She was quickly appointed Ambler Junior Baseball and Softball Commissioner within her first season of coaching. She was then elected Vice President of the board, and she created, and she is the commissioner of the Express Tournament Softball, which is an entry-level competitive softball organization which is designed to develop players and deepen their love and understanding of the game. In just a few years, she has really established herself as a dynamic force in girls softball. Let's hear it for Elise Baker. Our next honoree is Ken Constable, who is escorted by Rod. So from top to bottom, Ken Constable has been incredibly involved in the Norgwin baseball program for over 26 years. He began as a Little League coach, then he moved to the Connie Mack level, and finally the senior Connie Mack team. His greatest contributions to the program have been as the Little League commissioner and board member. He started the Pony League, which is that transitional phase from T-ball to minors where they begin pitching. That requires a lot of patience. Every year he tirelessly championed the cause of a player from a family that was struggling from financial hardship, and with the approval of the board was able to get that family some assistance. So truly a humanitarian effort. So let's hear it for Ken Constable. Our next honoree, escorted by Mike Toth, our board member, is Mr. Ed Molnar. So to say that Ed Molnar has been the driving force behind Harleysville baseball would be a major understatement. He has coached Harleysville baseball teams in 6 different decades, beginning in the 1960s. Ed originally began in 1964 with Norco Baseball, and he organized the Coventry Little League in Pottstown. And for the next 50 years, his involvement in Harleysville baseball included various stints. Head coach of teams ranging from almost every single age group, from 7-year-olds all the way up to the Connie Mack programs, and they're 13 to 16-year-old teams. And he won championships at almost every single level. Let's hear it for Ed Molnar. And our 4th honoree, escorted by Mr. Kevin Burke, our board member, is Mark Seifer. So the town of Narberth has been long known for one of the most prolific, and I heard it over here, CYO programs, St. Margaret's CYO in the Archdiocese of Philadelphia. Sure, you can clap. St. Margaret's football and baseball teams have been powerhouses for years, and Mark Seifer, or Rep as you know him, is a main contributor to that success, and he continues to be to this day. So he's coached the St. Margaret's CYO football team for 36 seasons. He's won 13 division championships, and he was inducted into the Archdiocese of Philadelphia CYO Hall of Fame in 2008. So I'm sorry we were 10 years after the fact, Mark, that we finally got to you. He also coached the CYO baseball team for 26 years as a side hobby. He won 2 region championships and 5 division championships there as well. So he's currently authoring a book. I wish I would have had known this a few years ago. It's part of his master's thesis, How to Coach the Maturing Teenager in the 21st Century. So let's hear it for Mr. Mark Seifer. And again, at this time, we're going to transition the program. I'm going to turn it back to Tony, but let's give a round of applause to all our volunteer coaches across the county. Thank you.
All right, we still have one prize that's not been claimed, and I can't believe it hasn't because it's a great prize. It's the use of a Cadillac for a weekend from Armin Cadillac. That number is 377-9893. 377-9893. 9893. Got it? We have it? Great. All right, special thanks to Joe Rowan, the job he does on that. Joe is a board member who has really risen through the ranks of the Montgomery County Coaches Hall of Fame quickly. You can see why he's a talented guy, but we knew it from a very, very early age in the sports community in Montgomery County many years ago. I don't want to say how many. Joe was the Times Herald Defensive Athlete of the Year, and a great football player he was. So, Joe, thank you again for all your great work. Back page of the program book. For those who heard me talk about how you get somebody nominated but didn't catch it all, just look on the back page. There's the details right there. All right, now, time for a very special portion of the program, the induction of our 4 new Hall of Fame coaches. They will all be presented, each one individually be presented by one of our board members. And then the coaches will come up and give their speeches. We've given them strict time limits. We have to work under these, and we apologize for that, but it's an important part. So we actually have a timing system to go through. When there's 1 minute left in their speech, they get a signal. If they start to go a little bit longer and are not quite wrapping it up, and then, of course, if they go overtime, we blow the whistle, 5-yard penalty, delay of the game. So there we go. That's our rules for the coaches. The board members don't have to go through that. They have a time limit on their presentations also. If they go overtime, they get fired from the board. So, with that, I would like to call upon our first presenter. He is the chairman of the selection committee, Gordon Glantz.
Good evening. Before I start, this doesn't count against my time, Tony. Show of hands. Who out there has a Facebook account? Raise your hands. All right, we have about 400 people in the room tonight, so we expect at least 350 likes on the Montgomery County Coaches Hall of Fame Facebook page tomorrow. And I'd like you to, any pictures you took tonight or any memories, please share it on the Facebook page. We would, that's part of the process that we'd like to see. I am honored tonight to induct a fellow Northeast High School alum in Jim Romano. In case you didn't know, Jim is a few months removed from leading Jenkintown girls basketball to the state championship. Now this didn't just happen out of nowhere, just one of those random things where a team just pops up and wins it. It was a culmination of building a consistently competitive program that's always in the ballpark of doing a great thing and having that magical season. Jim has been at it for 37 seasons, 630 wins, 15 district titles, and 10 league titles. And it's also interesting to note, we just honored our community coaches for their work at the grassroots level, that they work with kids before the glory days of high school. Now, Jim, in a small community like Jenkintown, has taken the initiative for about 25 years, he was telling me before, during the cocktail hour, to develop a grade school basketball program, grades 3 through 6, so that he can, well, I guess spot out some talent for his future teams, but, you know, teach the game to young kids, and so that when they come up to, he doesn't have a lot of kids to work with, when they come up to, you know, junior high and then high school, they're ready to go. So Jim has kind of led a double life, running a long-standing program and laying his foundation that culminated with that magical night in March where you won the district title, the state championship. So from the Jenkintown Hall of Fame to the Montgomery County Coaches Hall of Fame, let's get it up for Jim Romano.
Okay, I didn't get the message that I only would have 7 minutes to speak. But anyway, get the whistle out. Okay. I was hoping that I would not be the first one to speak tonight, because I just wanted to see and hear the other members of this class and what they was going to say. But, like always, I'll take the lead. I don't have a problem with that. All righty, here we go. When I did this speech, it took me 4 minutes and 10 seconds. So, and I'm pretty good if I stay on task. I have a problem to go off a little bit, but I promise to stay on task. I want to start off by thanking the members of the selection committee for this prestigious honor. I am also honored to go in the hall with Mr. Dick Beck, Mr. Bob Lorenz, and of course, Mr. Richard Schweiker. So I am privileged. Along the way, through my 40 years of coaching at Jenkintown, 37 as the girls varsity basketball coach, I met so many people, parents, coaches, players. Some are here tonight that played a significant role in my coaching career. I would be remiss if I didn't say a few words about some of the people that helped me navigate the ups and downs of my career. In attendance tonight is our school board president, Maya Cheeks, and a board member, Carmen Izzo, our high school principal, Tom Roller, and our AD, Chris O'Brien. I want to thank them for their years of support. Mr. Bob Dearden, who introduced me to Jenkintown School District and recommended me to Rich Stetler, who gave me the opportunity to coach football with Bob at the junior high level, my first coaching position. The following three people played a major part in my coaching career: Mr. Rich Stetler, Mr. Dave Seitz, and Miss Lindsay Neese. Miss Lindsay Neese was the first girls basketball coach at Jenkintown, and after 4 years as her JV coach, she encouraged me to pursue a head coaching position when I said I felt worthy in my ability to run a varsity program. She said she would retire and turn the program over to me. The rest is history. Rich Stetler, my mentor, I was fortunate that Rich hired me on his football coaching staff right out of college. Because of his outstanding leadership, his attention to detail, his commitment to his players and to his craft, he gave me a tremendous and sturdy foundation to start my career. Mr. Dave Seitz, our sports information director, he has been in my corner as a cut man, so to speak, my whole career. Dave is my biggest fan. If it wasn't for Rich, Dave, Lindsay, I probably would not be standing here tonight. All my coaches throughout the years remain loyal and dedicated to our program. All my players over the years for their energy, heart, their love for the game, the relentless drive to become better individuals on and off the court, and all the parents who to this day, even with their daughters out of the program, they continue to support our program at the high school and youth programs. My fellow coaches at Jenkintown, especially our head boys coach, Wes Hemming, brings so much energy to his team that it becomes contagious, and it's definitely motivated me over the years to pick up my game. I hope that it doesn't take him 36 years for his first state title. Okay. My family, my wife Jenny, my son Jim, and my daughter Megan, because of understanding and personal sacrifice that they made over the years so I can pursue my coaching career. My parents who instill in me that whatever career path that I chose, always leave a positive mark. So when your peers speak your name, they can say you had integrity, honesty, and inspire individuals to strive to do their best and a true love for your job. Over the years, I try to convey this message to my children and to my players. With this honor tonight, I know that my parents are looking down, giving me a thumbs up, and saying you left your mark. At the end of the day, the best thing about coaching here at Jenkintown is the relationship which started out as co-workers and acquaintances. Now I could call them friends and family. Once again, I want to thank the hall and to all the people who came tonight on my behalf. Thank you. This is a tremendous evening and honor. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir.
Jim, thank you very much. Good to meet you. All right, one down. Now you understand why this is such a special night. I think you could tell that this was a thrill for Jim Romano. Special thanks, you see all these photos that are being taken tonight. Jack Cole, who has a business in Conshohocken, Jack Cole Framing, right on Fayette Street. He does this for us every year. We thank him very much. His business, let me make sure you know, has nothing to do with all those criminals that go to trial and say they're getting framed. His is really a framing place. They frame places. So, but we really appreciate his photographic work for us. Thank you. Also, you see the video cameras. The pride of Norristown High, the audiovisual department. We've seen them many times. They work with the famous Hank Cisco television show, and they came out tonight. We're going to have this up on our website, so you'll be able to see highlights of the evening, hopefully with a special portion about my story about Vince Papali's jockstrap. We'll have that on there, but all the rest of the highlights of the evening. Okay, with that, inductee number 2, board member Jeff Scholes, to introduce Robert Schweiker. Richard Schweiker. I'm having a bad time with first names tonight. I knew it was Richard.
Thank you, Tony. It's Schweiker. It is an honor to be able to introduce North Penn's Richard Schweiker into the Montgomery County Coaches Hall of Fame. While preparing for this, I got the chance to reach out to former athletes who either ran or threw for Coach Schweiker, some of who are here tonight to celebrate this accomplishment. The common theme among these athletes is that Rich was a motivator. He would preach pride and desire. Pride in what you are doing and have the desire to reach your goals. I even reached out to Coach Schweiker to ask him if there's anything that came to mind that he would like me to say when I was up here doing his introduction. His answer was, nothing that hasn't already been written. Well, I found one of his quotes that was written in an article, and it goes like this. We'll coach you up the best we can and get you as far as you can possibly go. And the kids bought into it. Well, they sure did buy into it, and this is how you can tell. Coach Schwanker's dual meet record is 176-9-1, which includes winning the last 77 dual meets in a row. He holds 18 Suburban 1 and Bucksmont championships. He coached 16 undefeated seasons. His distance medley relay team won at the Penn Relays in 2002. He won 4 District 1 team titles. He won the PIAA Pennsylvania State title in 2002. He was voted Pennsylvania Track and Field Coach of the Year 5 times. And most recently, he coached the 2017 girls team to a state title. So when I asked Coach Schwanker if there was anything that he wanted me to say during the introduction, I know the reason for his answer. His accomplishments speak for themselves. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Coach Richard Schwanker.
Many of the things that were said by Jeff, I'm going to reiterate as I go through this. I'd like to start by thanking the Montgomery Hall of Fame and Induction individuals for this wonderful honor and congratulate all of my fellow inductees. It is an honor to share this evening with you. Before I get started, I would like to also thank Ron Lopresti and the PTFCA and District 1 officials for their support, the Track and Field Coaches Association of Greater Philadelphia, President Carl Smith, former Division II meet director and web master Rich Ames, our Division I meet director Jay Jones, and Division II meet director Doug Smith. As a coach for 46 years and a 66 graduate of North Penn High School, I'd like to thank the North Penn School District for their continued support over my career. I would like to recognize the retired athletic director Don Ryan for all his help for 90% of my coaching career, and now AD Bill Bartle for the last few years. And also for all the years, Athletic Secretary Linda Law. As a student athlete at North Penn High School, my coaches were Hall of Fame coaches and great role models. My head coach was James Crawford Sr. and his assistant James Gulick Sr. I didn't know at the time, but these men were responsible for the foundation of my coaching philosophy and career. I started at the high school in '81. At the time, I was an assistant coach, girls coach with Coach Crawford Jr., and Coach Gulick won the state title that year in 1981 with the boys. He handed the baton to me the following year, and I was the coach of my alma mater, and it was a humbling experience. During the years, Coach Crawford Sr. would be at practice almost every day. Coach Gulick would show up to see his son, Jim Jr., who was on the team. I relied on the things that I learned in high school, as we had never lost a dual meet or a league championship while I was there. And Coach Crawford Jr. was right there every day as a perfect example of the way North Penn did things. I went to clinics, I borrowed things from different coaches, adapted to apply them to North Penn. For the next 24 years, North Penn boys had an awesome run. 18 league championships. It's 5 district champions. You forgot the 2002 in the folder. A relay championship, as was mentioned, at the Championship of America at Penn Relays. A PIAA state championship. And for the last 10 years, from 1995 to 2005, We never lost a dual meet or a league championship. That was the 7-7 that was mentioned. I'd like to thank the head coach at the time, girls, Jim Crawford, because he was there while I was there. Like my assistant coaches, Tim Kulick, Chris King, Dan Schweiker, Dave Franick, Jay Jones, and especially my North Penn classmate, track teammate, Ron Jarvis, who was there for all 24 years. Jay Jones took the win streak for the next 5 years and took it to 106 straight wins. In 2007, Coach Crawford Jr. asked if I would be the assistant since I was at the track every day, helping as best I could. So I became assistant girls coach. For the next 11 years, I worked with the girls, the last 2 as head coach, and again was blessed with some amazing athletes, and ended my official coaching career. The girls won the state track title by half a point. Unbelievable. It was predicted by a former athlete, Shane Pratt. Again, I'd like to thank Coach Crawford Jr., girls coaches, Spence Kershaw, Pat Culp, Brian Pletcher, Brandon Turner, and Jewel Rama. Over my coaching career, I've been asked many times, what did I attribute to the success of the North Penn track? I never came up with a definitive answer. I would just say it started way back with Coach Crawford, passed on to Coach Kulick and to myself. Last year, I listened to a Hall of Fame acceptance speech of James Gulick Jr. He talked about the North Penn Way, which he had grown up with and experienced most of his life. Jim said that the North Penn Way meant be on time, be prepared, work hard, team comes first, love competing, never take pity on yourself, do the right thing, and always be a gracious winner. Jim went on to say he realized these were universal characteristics guiding most successful people. But as a young aspiring athlete, he assumed that Coach Crawford Sr. long ago was decreed the North Penn Way. And I would say that best describes North Penn track. I have a quote I'd like to share from baseball manager Joe Torre. Competing at its highest level is not about winning. It is about preparation, courage, understanding, nurturing people, and heart. Winning is the result. I'd like to thank my family, my daughter Heather, my sister came up from Florida. She is here tonight also. My daughter Heather, her husband Joe Clarko, my granddaughter Melina, grandson Joe, my son Daniel, granddaughter Sydney, grandsons Tyler Lucas, and lastly, probably the most important person in my coaching career, my wife Robin. Time commitment coaching is tremendous, and many sacrifices are made so that I could do what I love. She has been very understanding, kept our family together and moving forward, and I know I speak for all North Penn track and field coaches and state athletes. A special thanks for the chocolate chip cookies. There are 2 more thank yous to be made. Thank you to all the parents and the athletes I've coached in allowing your sons and daughters to be part of the North Penn track and field. And lastly, a giant thank you to all the athletes I've coached for their commitment, dedication, and sacrifice. You have become a part of North Penn track and field family and its legacy. Thank you.
All right, Coach Richard Schweiker. And I want to just mention there's 4 people at table 14 here. He didn't mean to overlook you. You're the only ones in the room he didn't thank so far tonight, but they can thank him later on. Thank you, Rich. Coach, you got everybody. That was the most inclusive speech I ever heard. God bless you. All right, board member Kevin Burke, introducing Coach Bob Lawrence.
Bob Lawrence was just 7 years old when he was struck by a car and thrown 30 feet into the air and into a 6-week coma. When he came out of it, he possessed the blueprint for pinning adversity to the mat and was thus perfectly catapulted into the world of wrestling. Nowadays, in his 70s, he throws his body down black diamond slopes and navigates moguls as he skis the world. But that's a story for another time, and trust me, Bob's got a mountain of stories to tell. In a career that spanned 5 decades, Bob stealthily and steadily built a powerhouse program, first at Springfield Monco High School, and then at Plymouth Whitemarsh, where basketball is reputedly king. There's some gentlemen in the room who would argue with that. Along the way, he became an icon in Pennsylvania wrestling circles, as evidenced by the list of accomplishments you'll find in your program book. Highlights will show that he was Coach of the Year 19 times, had 33 All-State wrestlers, and an amazing 8 100-match winners, and of course all his other Hall of Fame inductions. But at his core, Bob Lawrence is without a doubt a student of life first, a teacher second, a prolific builder of kids third, a leader always, a tyrant never. As he built his wrestling program, what was he most proud of? Well, he never recruited a single outside kid. He never once cut a kid. All were welcome. He always filled every weight class at every match, no matter the outcome, for the sake of the boys' development. He also reveled in the fun and wackiness that wrestlers often bring to the mat for pressure relief, even allowing his head to be shaved after one tremendous victory. A ski trip for the team to Killington the week before a championship? Who would do that? Bob Lawrence would, and he did. His t-shirt tradition is legendary. In order to get one with the word "believe" silkscreened across the chest, Coach Bob had to be convinced you now fully believed in yourself and matched that with a commensurate effort. Guys often wept by the time they were presented the coveted t-shirt in front of the team, symbolic of their personal journey and their beloved coach's penultimate approval and appreciation for them. Now, this evening, join me and all the thousands who wrestled for Coach Bob to show our appreciation and approval for this iconic Montgo coach, a master builder of young men, as exhibited by, guys, stand up and show your shirts, please, as some of his former wrestlers right here now. Bob Lawrence.
Put him in the middle. Oh, you're good.
Okay, first of all, I'd like to thank the selection committee and all of the coaches, wrestlers, parents, and volunteers that have been part of my life. John Peacock, would you please turn your chair around, because you need to pay attention. This is Dr. John Peacock. We've already done the thing with the Believe shirts. It started in 1971 when I was a coach at Springfield Monco High School. I really believe that it is the single most motivational, educational tool that was ever conceived in the state of Pennsylvania, maybe the country. If you can't understand that, you have not been privileged enough to be in our wrestling room, period. I have four things I want to go over. I was asked by Kevin the other day, what is the thing that separates your program from other people's programs? And I said, well, really it winds up being a lot of things. The first thing that comes to my mind, anyway, is that we had fun. Oh my God. Well, in 1987 to 1992, I backed away from coaching at Plymouth Whitemarsh. A lot of those years I was officiating. how many former coaches officiate in any sport? I did. So anyway, a couple of those years, I made my way back over to Springfield Montco High School. Some kids ask me, how good was Springfield? Was Springfield ever any good? Whew. Yeah, we were. We really were. The 3 years before I left to come to PW, we were undefeated all 3 years. There was only one tie on their record, and that was when they wrestled Plymouth Whitemarsh and my team. But anyway, this has to do with 1990-91. All of the faculty members at PW were encouraged to run a club. And me, brilliant guy that I was, decided to run the ski club. Other people that were faculty members and everything decided to run, like, I don't know, science research club or something like that. They had 3 kids. I had 75. Now, we had a real good freshman wrestler. Now, that would have been the year before I took the program over. His name was Randy Guzik. Tremendously athletic in the wrestling world, and he was going to hang up wrestling. His mother, Carmela, and his father, Bob Guzik, and my wife and I knew one another through my wife's work and also through some Plymouth Whitemarsh youth wrestling organization. And so Carmela, Bob's mother, Randy's mother, said, you know, Bob, I think that if you come back to coaching, I think Randy, who is a member of your ski club, I think Randy will come back to wrestling. So the next day, I looked Randy up because I didn't want him to slip through the cracks. And I said, Randy, I'm thinking about taking back the head coaching job. I want you to wrestle. No question about it. And he said, can I ski? I said, absolutely. We'll ski together. We'll wrestle together. What do you think? And he goes, I'll do it. So from that point on, for the next 10 years, about 2/3 or 3/4 of our wrestling team belonged to the ski club. And we skied 4 or 5 times a year, sometimes right before the state tournament began. And again, I ask you, who the heck would do that during their season? Now, you also ask, didn't anybody get hurt? They did not have my permission to get hurt, and they knew better if they did get hurt not to tell me. By the way, Randy became our first 100-match winner. Now, the next story has to do with participation. I never, ever wanted to cut a kid. I really believe that every kid had a purpose. Every kid needed to belong to something. And so I tried to make every possible way to keep every kid. My last year of coaching, I started out with 41 kids in a room. I ended that season with 41 kids in a room. Well, this is a story that was around like 1999, 2000, 2001. And I had a kid that was a freshman. He was picked on. He was bullied a little bit. He had an older brother that was bigger and tougher and stronger and nastier than what he was. And one day at practice, I don't know, after like the first week or 2 weeks of practice, Hamid, some of you know who I'm talking about now, decided to quit. So I asked the team, what's the story with Hamid? Where is he? And a couple of the kids said, I think he's going to quit. Right after practice, I got on the telephone. I called Hamid. He answered the phone. I said, Hamid, I understand that you're going to quit. What's the story? He couldn't give me an answer. I said, listen, you've already participated for a week. It is against PIAA rules to quit. You're not allowed to. Furthermore, the school is going to get fined if I allow this to happen. So he said, all right, I'll be there tomorrow. All right, finally, I always wanted to embrace the characters. My God, we had characters. I could just start naming a whole bunch of people and everything, but they were really characters. I wanted to embrace their ethnicity, their nationalities, whether they come from Cunnytown down in Conshohocken or Lafayette Hill or Plymouth Township. I wanted to embrace all of that. So this is a story about Seth Tobias. 1977, December of 77. Seth was a 112-pounder, and he came to me in December, and he said, Coach, I'm not going to be able to wrestle in the Christmas tournament that's over at Conestoga. I said, why? He said, well, I've got, I don't know, I didn't understand the word, I didn't hear him, I don't know, something like that. So I said to him in parting, you know, it's important that you satisfy your Jewish religion, that you take care of your holidays, and that you, you take care of those things. So he walked away, scratching his head, and came back after Christmas vacation, and he, wrestled for us for a couple of weeks, and about the last week of January, a couple of the wrestlers said to me, he said, Coach, do you have any idea the details behind Seth Tobias' absence? And I said, well, yeah, it was some Jewish holiday, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, or something like that. And they looked at me and said, Coach, Aruba is not a Jewish holiday. I didn't know. Here's the way we treated our kids. This is a letter from a young man, Coach Vermeil. I hope I'm going to be able to do this. He was 10 and 16 his senior year. Remember what I said about hanging on to every kid. I didn't care if he was a stud or not. 10 and 16 his senior year. He wrote me a letter. Oftentimes, Coach, I would peer across the mat and watch other coaches yelling at their team. You never did that. I never became a great wrestler, but you never made me feel anything but great. I would fail. You would always support me, pat me on the back, and later you would take me aside to give me advice on how I could do better. Thank you, Coach, for every pat on the back, for every 100-mile trip that you drove at 5 a.m., for every joke you made, and for every heart you touched. That was us. Thank you.
And that was Bob Lawrence, for sure. All right. Our final inductee. We had to drag him off the practice field. He's a little bit busy right now. We've got board member Emmett Harkins to tell us all about our final inductee, Dick Beck.
Coach, I'm working for you up here. I didn't know you'd follow the wrestling coach in a coma with the guys with the T-shirts. So we're working hard. By 2002, the sleeping giant of North Penn football had firmly been awakened. So when the great Mike Pettin Jr. decided to leave North Penn for the NFL, the school board had a decision to make: hire from within or bring in new faces. Now, the school board had consistently said the number one priority was to keep the excellence that had been established. So the decision to promote Coach Beck from associate head coach to head coach had to be easy. And 16 years later, I think we can all agree it was without a doubt the right choice. We've got 12 Suburban 1 titles, 7, soon to be 8, District 1 titles, 12 10-win seasons, 7 Final Four appearances, a state runner-up in 2011, and a state champion in 2003. North Penn grads dot college rosters all over the NCAA. Pipelines to colleges and beyond have been established, and North Penn grads even grace NFL rosters. You know, as a player, Coach Beck was recruited to Temple by the great Bruce Arians, and he captained the 1990 Owls to a 7-4 record with wins over Wisconsin, BC, Virginia Tech, and Pitt. And that team, by the way, got jobbed out of a bowl game, a slight, I am sure, still ticks Coach off. Many have said that as a player at CB West for the great Mike Pettin Sr., you see a pattern here, he was the greatest pulling guard they had ever seen, a true leader and tactician on the field. Coach is a guy who in college, rather than let his quarterback get hit, he gave his knee up in an impossible block. Okay, it was probably a leg whip, Coach, but it's pretty hardcore. And people wonder why his offensive lines are consistently elite and his kids are so tough. You know, excellence for 1 year is really, really difficult to attain. Continued excellence for 16 plus years is almost impossible. And it is a feat that has been shared by very, very few, but Coach Beck has done it. And for those reasons, we're happy to introduce Dick Beck as a 2018 inductee in the Montgomery County Coaches Hall of Fame.
Put him in the middle. Put him in the middle. There you go. There you go. Look to the camera.
Wow, he did some research. Thank you very much. All right, as we were in the cocktail hour, I heard the guy say, they put those two dicks from North Penn into the Hall of Fame. So Dick Schweiker, congratulations. Congratulations to Jim and Bob also. I would like to thank the committee for this great honor. Sorry, Tony, I got a list of people I want to thank. It's not everybody in the room, but it's going to be most of them. I want to thank Steve Frederick. In 2002, I got called down to the principal's office. The late Steve Frederick was the principal. Don Ryan and the superintendent, Bob Hassel, were in the office. And they said, "It's time for your interview." I was like, it's like 9 o'clock in the morning. What? And they say, "Okay, here's what we're going to do. You're the new head coach, and this is what you want to do and be like, and this is what we expect." I couldn't have been more happy. It was a great honor, and I thank those guys for giving me that opportunity. I would like to thank our current principal for all his support, Pete Nicholson, our former principal, who's now the assistant superintendent, Todd Bauer, Bert Hines, our longtime athletic director, Don Ryan, our current athletic director, Bill Bartle, and then two faculty members who couldn't be more supportive, Spike Chrisman and Rick Carroll, who are both here. Thank you very much. I have a fantastic coaching staff, and most of them are here tonight. Jim Udinsky, Todd Nelson, Jimmy Ward, Kevin Zeblum, Kevin Zaber, Jim Lackey, Tyler Kriebel, Jay Jones is a former coach of mine, and then my assistant head coach, Dave Franick, who's been with me since day one. Someone said to me, "What's it mean to be the assistant head coach?" And as we explained it, if I'm ever assassinated, Dave would take over the play calling duties. As it was said, my mentors growing up, I had the great privilege to play for Mike Pettin. He was an amazing coach to play for. I was fortunate enough to be able to coach with him when I got out of college. Mike Carey was a longtime assistant for Mike Pettin and was the offensive line coach and a very close friend, and I got an opportunity to coach with him and learn so much. And Michael Pettin Jr., who was the head coach when we came together at North Penn. My entire family's here. I remember when they called me and told me that I was going to be inducted in the Hall of Fame. So I called my mom. Now my mom's one of those snowbirds. Her and my dad, they live down in Florida. And so I wanted to make sure, hey, they're gonna have this Hall of Fame induction. It's in November. She usually doesn't come up till Christmas. You think you want to come up? And she says, well, let me check the calendar. I said, okay, I'll send you the information. So I emailed her the information. A day later, she calls me back and she says, do you know Dick Vermeil's going to be there? And I go, I was like, yeah. And she says, Oh, well, we're definitely going to come up. I'm coming up for Thanksgiving. So I want to thank Dick Vermeil for being here tonight. 3 Dicks in a room. But I just want to thank my mom and dad, Cindy and Bill. Love you guys so much. Thanks for coming up. My brothers and my my brother and my 2 sisters, Bo, Stacy, and Kim, and their entire families had the opportunity to come tonight, and it was great to see everybody. Thank you for being part of this. Now, my kids had the opportunity to basically grow up on the sidelines. My wife and I were married 8 years ago, and she had 4 kids. I have 3 kids, so we're the Brady Bunch plus 1. Everybody's had the opportunity to be on the sidelines, whether it was, taking pictures for the 12th night, or it was being a female manager, or all the boys. I had the great opportunity to coach, so that was very important for me. And my daughter Kelly was lucky enough to meet her husband on the sideline during the game, and eventually to get married. Her husband played for me, and they just had their first kid. Hopefully he wasn't conceived on the sideline. Can't imagine that. But it is the family business, and these guys have been involved since day one, and to me that's what makes it so special. And of course, my beautiful wife Lauren. Lauren's our biggest fan. She doesn't miss a game, and I could not ask for somebody to be more supportive. I want to thank, now, the parents, I think at North Penn have been very blessed with some great parents that have been extremely supportive, that, you always hear these nightmare stories about parents complaining and wanting this, and our parents, I have just been so fortunate, and there's 3 here tonight. So Ray McNamara is our current president of our parents club. We call him the 12th night, and he is just every week. What do you need? What can I do? Organizing the parents to put together meals or whatever we need, they take care of. Ray's most famous for having a daughter that is a kicker for me, my first female kicker, and she big hit a kid from CBS and got all over ESPN. So congratulations for that, Ray. Mike Tilger. Mike Tilger was a parent of the 12th night, and he's an accountant. So you can imagine what he's like and with the finances. So I try to stay out of those finances. Thanks, Mike. And then, don't be offended by this, Ray, but the greatest parent leader in the history of North Penn football, Tina Stoll. Now, Tina Stoll was the president of the 12th night for, 27 years. All 3 of her sons, her husband, Pete, they're very supportive. And luckily for, North Penn School District, Tina is the new president of the school board, so we're excited about what she's doing for North Penn High School. And then finally, as everybody knows, or at least I hope everybody knows, maybe nobody knows, we're in the District 1 championship on Friday night. We're excited to play a great team, Coatesville. This team has been unbelievable. We're 13-0, and there's some of my players here tonight. They're sitting at the table sponsored by Walton Oil. That's an inside joke. So I want them to stand as I call out their name just to be recognized. They have just been amazing. Jake Walton, Noah Fox, Eddie Harkins, Don Stites, and Noah Boast. If they could stand up. And then make sure you go home and go to bed after this. All right, I want to thank everybody for the opportunity and to be in this Hall of Fame, and it's an honor I don't take lightly. Thank you very much. Oh, I forgot my, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, how about that new class of inductees? Every year we send a letter, very similar every year, to the inductees, giving a few tips on the details of the night. And all these guys have gotten the same letter over the years. It talks about their timeline and how do we have to keep to it. And there's one sentence I always put in, and we underline it, and then we highlight it. Whatever you do, don't introduce everybody in a room, go down thanking every single one of them. It becomes tedious. That's the quickest way to lose the room. Of course, being head coaches, there is nobody that can tell them anything. They're not going to do that. But this year was a historic one because it was the first time I ever saw a coach thanking all the people, and they were hiding under the table hoping they wouldn't thank them. That was Dick over here. They were afraid what was coming next. I was waiting on especially the accounting guy. It was great. I loved how you wove the little stories in with the thanks. That was terrific. All right. It is time for our Lifetime Achievement Award. We started giving this a number of years ago because there were people who slipped through the cracks. One way or the other, they didn't quite qualify. Just for a couple of examples, you have to have either been born in Montgomery County or coached a team in Montgomery County. For example, Andy Talley, the great longtime football coach at Villanova, he grew up one block outside of Montgomery County in Haverford, and Villanova is one block outside of Montgomery County on the Delaware County line there. But his career was so outstanding, and he did so much with so many people, recruited so many people from Montgomery County that we gave him a Lifetime Achievement Award. So these are the ways that we did it. We don't do it every single year, but most years there is somebody that is worthy of this. Now imagine a Coaches Hall of Fame and one of our board members, Vice President Tom Brady, came to us and said, we've got a great nominee for Lifetime Achievement this year. He's a guy who spent 40 years officiating football. I said, what do you want to start a riot in here? These are coaches. They don't particularly like officials. Well, he started telling us about the different details of Bruce Williams' career and how much he has given back to the community. Born in the county, lives in Hatfield, worked his way up from the high school coaching ranks through college to the elite level of college coaching, to officiating, I'm saying coaching, officiating, thank you very much. Officiating, see, I'm stuck on the Coaches Hall of Fame, but officiating, and he officiated at some of the greatest bowl games in the country. Topping it off last year by officiating in the Army-Navy game. And that game, with all its pageantry and passion, literally brought a tear to the eye of Bruce Williams in his final coaching, officiating. His final damn game as a referee. That's what I'm trying to say. So we said, okay, exception. Lifetime achievement. Bruce Williams, 40 years of officiating. And then he turned around and went back into officiating this year. He is doing an encore. So we're not going to give you another award next year, Bruce. But for all that you have done and all you've meant to the game of football, it really, really is a testimony to your passion for the game. And I can't think of a more deserving recipient of our Lifetime Achievement Award than football official Bruce Williams.
How long your speech is?
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, I have to put glasses on. I know. Right, Raffle? Right. Tony to read. Tony to read. I want to know who was in charge of putting me after Coach Beck. That was not good for me. But anyway, I'll be quick and brief. Doug Harvey was a Major League Baseball umpire for many years. And he once said, you make 1,000 correct calls and nobody knows you. Make one bad call and everybody knows your name. Looking at these past recipients of the Lifetime Achievement Award, they're all household names for sports fans. And most of you most of you have never heard of Bruce Williams before. So I keep waiting for Tom Brady or Dale or somebody to come up and tap me on the shoulder and say, sorry, there's been a mistake here. It's not you. But until they do, I'll get on with this. The bad calls, the good calls, pretty much sums up what it's like to be an official. The thing is, not everyone can do it. And I think that's one of the things that I like most about what I do. Not everyone can do this. It takes special people who can put aside all their feelings and rule fairly, honestly, and quickly. That have the ability to use their experience and judgment to make a decision in the blink of an eye. I belong to a fellowship of very special people. I'm proud to have them as friends, mentors, and confidants. I can tell you from my personal experience that the best officials have learned not to get too high when things are going well or too low when things aren't. Stay on an even keel, and you can survive and have a long and successful career in officiating. I guess to be receiving a Lifetime Achievement Award must mean that I've been around for a long time. And I have been. It was like yesterday. I was a young official coming up, seeking an acknowledgement and advice from the veterans. Now I find my role reversed. I'm the one giving advice to a new generation of officials. Much closer to the end of my career than I certainly am to the beginning. I am honored to receive this award and thank everyone who has helped me through all the years. I would never be able to recognize them all, but hope they will accept my sincere thanks at this time. There is one person that I do have to thank because without her, none of this would have happened to me. My wife, Nisi, please stand up. She is my rock and the love of my life. Congratulations to everyone who has been inducted tonight. My thanks to the Montco Hall of Fame for this award. I am truly honored and thrilled.
Bruce Williams, a class act and our Lifetime Achievement Award winner. Now it's time for our guest speaker. Over the years, we've had many great guest speakers, from Phil Martelli to Speedy Morris to many great coaches and personalities in the game. And this particular one, I share a little tie with. His first year as head coach of the Eagles was my first year as a young newspaper reporter covering the Eagles. And I was unprepared to meet anyone in the world as fiery and as passionate as Dick Vermeil. When he spoke, his eyes were two beacons of fire, and they looked right through you. And I can see how he could motivate players so well. So to have him speaking at a coach's event like this is really a pleasure, because I think all coaches would like to aspire to reach that same kind of level that Dick Vermeil did, winning a Super Bowl, climbing to the highest heights of your profession. And who would have ever thought that many, many years ago, when Dick started with the Eagles and I started with the newspaper, that we would both rise to positions of wealth and power. Okay, we went 1 out of 2 on that one. That's not bad, huh? Okay. With that, our guest speaker, Dick Vermeil.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Members of the Montgomery Board, honorees, past honorees, ladies and gentlemen, I come to Montgomery Village for my first major speaking engagement. After 35 years of coaching, you set me next to an official. But I did find out there's at least one of them alive that's really a good guy, okay? My intensity and my passion used to get me in a lot of trouble with those officials. I'll tell one quick story. Assistant coach, Del Mar High School, San Jose, 1959. I'm on the sideline. Oh, I'm fired up. Head coach, Bill Walker, wonderful guy. He's calm and cool, not me. Official makes a call out there, and I'm out there almost at the hash mark. I'm chewing his ass out. Bill Walker, the head coach, comes back and gets me. He said, "The penalty's on them, coach." That happened about the second game of my career. I'm serious. I've never forgotten that. But anyway, that didn't stop me from making many, many mistakes in regard to officiating evaluation system. But no, it's an honor to be out here in the community. My home is in Chester County. My wife and I, there were 2 sons still remain in the community with grandkids, and we have a daughter now living in Southern California rather than here in the East. We're going out there tomorrow. But anyway, it's fun. I love getting out here. I love being around coaches, people like this. You know, when you've been in it all your life, many people think because you've been in the NFL, it's different. It is no different. I started out high school coaching as assistant, then I became a head coach. I was an assistant coach in junior college, then I became a head coach. I was assistant in college, and I became a head coach. Did the same thing in pro football, but coaching is coaching. And you honor these guys because of what they are as people, as much as what they did for a living. That's why you honor them. And what makes these people, or what puts them in a position to be honored and have their players and wrestlers wear the jersey and stand up and be applauded? Number one, everybody surrounding them know that they care. They care about the kids. And they care about them with a purpose, not just to make them happy and smile, to make them better. In football, maybe make them a little tougher, because they don't make them tough at home anymore. You know, I was raised differently. I was about 15 before I realized my name was not Dumb Bastard, okay? Yeah. Now, some of you guys laugh. You were raised the same way. They used to raise kids differently. I watch my kids raise my 11 grandchildren. They raise them differently. No one toughens them up anymore. But these guys do it because they care about them. They care about them. And they know players don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And that's one of the number one reasons they're here right now. The other reason is why they're here is they're unbelievable examples. They're unbelievable examples for your kids in every aspect. Not only fundamental football, but how they live their lives, how they conduct themselves, how they communicate, how they connect with people, how they don't cut the squad, how they motivate the kid that isn't very good but make him better anyway. That's why they're examples, you know, and a team will not be with their coaches. They want them. And these guys are great examples. I feel it when I'm around coaches all the time. Now, I miss that the most. My coaching staffs and that kind of stuff. I think I have 11 guys left in the NFL still coaching, and I stay in touch with them as assistant coach. I have one player, the punter at Kansas City, who was punting there last night, the left footer. But anyway, these guys are great examples. And it's exciting. It's exciting to be around. And they found out a long time ago, you take good care of your people, they'll take care of you. A good example is far more better than a good opinion. A good example is much better than great advice. Good examples you remember. Years down the road, I'm here because of a high school football coach on his very first job in a high school with 130 kids in it. Came to Calistoga High School, the north end of the Napa Valley, and took over the football team. I was not going to college. My mom and dad didn't finish high school. My dad had the old garage. I was going to work in the garage. We were going to build a new shop, Louis Vermeil and Sons Garage, and I was going to drive his race cars when I got old enough. In the old days, you couldn't start driving until you were 21. Now they start them at 14 or 15 years old. But that's what I was going to do. But then a football coach says to me, you know, young man, you can play college football if you wanted. No one ever told me I could play college football. We only had 21 kids on the team. Now they only play 8-man football in that little community. But gee, that raised my expectation. And what an example of this guy. He was a college football, played with Eddie LeBaron, the old COP, college, you know. It was a great football team in the old days. Okay, but anyway, it was a great example for me. And he sort of inspired me. And he says, you know, but you haven't done a damn thing in school. And there was only 130 kids in the school. It's hard to flunk out, you know. And he said, you ought to go to junior college. So I went to junior college. I went to junior college, started making up my grades, walked on at San Jose State, got a scholarship, started playing, went into coaching. A great example. That's what these people are. That's why we honor them tonight. The other thing I think they've done for the most time in their careers, they created an atmosphere in which people enjoyed being in. Even though they know where they're going to have to work their asses off, and they're going to sweat right through their sweatshirts, and walk off the field with their ears ringing and buzz and a headache from time to time, they look forward to going there. The atmosphere was conducive to bringing people together, getting them to care about each other, because the coaches cared. Good examples all around them of everybody working together. No one loafing, everybody working together. But when you can do that, you can do it. And these coaches have done it. That's why you honor them. That's why you honor them. And I've been around very few coaches that I said when I walked off and away from them, said, you know, the guy could never coach for me. I've been around tons, high school coaches and everything, especially when I was in college coaching and recruiting the big schools and watch high school coaches. I learned so much from watching great high school coaches coach. Because a lot of the stuff we do today in the NFL and everything originated somewhere down the road, maybe all the way into the high school level. Well, I know this, when the atmosphere is positive, optimistic, and realistic, and defined for kids, they respond. And I've seen that on every level. Same thing in the National Football. You attack problems, not people. You attack problems, not people. And you make them better by keeping them in this environment, even when the environment in Philadelphia today a lot different than it was a year ago at this time. You listen to WIP on Monday. I'm on there tomorrow at 8 o'clock. I'm not looking forward to it. Because I know what he's going to ask me. Oh, Angelo's tough, you know, but he's never coached. He doesn't have a clue. And that doesn't mean he's not great at what he does. He has a great stick, and, you know, they pay him well. But I'll tell you this, it's a hell of a lot different radio show than it was the last year at the same time. And the same head coach. All of a sudden, he can't coach anymore. Became dumb off season, you know. It's amazing. But the atmosphere within the city is different. I went downtown yesterday. I had meetings downtown at PNC Bank with the old Soul, the Arena League team with Jaworski and those guys. And everybody walked around the street like this. Why the Eagles lost? Why the Eagles are no good? Last year they were Super Bowl winners. And you think it's going to happen every year? No, it ain't going to happen every year. But the people that can keep the atmosphere like these guys have done, and why we honor them tonight, it's so conducive to developing the right kind of attitudes in the kids that they coach and the kids that they connect with. It's lifetime friends, lifetime friends. I really, really believe that. The next thing I think they've really done, and always do, is they give great definition to their team, great definition to what they have to do, what they have to be, and how they're going to have to do it. No teacher in any classroom, very seldom, maybe they don't get the time, maybe they don't have the same feeling or commitment, gives such definition to this kid, what he has to do, what he has to do, what he has to do to become what he's got the ability to be. John Wooden told me one time, a long time ago, his office was next to mine, he'd retired, I'm head coach of UCLA. I'm there, I said, Coach, I'm really down. He says, what's wrong? And I said, well, we got beat on about 3 really great players here in town at USC. He looks me right in the eye, he said, Coach, don't worry about those guys at USC. They're always going to have better players than you. Just make sure you make those you have the best they can possibly be, and everything will take care of itself. The next year we beat them, went to the Rose Bowl, beat Ohio State. I moved to Philadelphia, okay? It is something, but when you define it for your kids, you give them great definition, then you discipline it. Very few people have the ability to give their best to the people they like the least. The kids will give their best to people that they know they care about, that are great examples for them, that create an atmosphere for them to have fun in, even though they're having their butts worked out. I really believe that is so true. I've seen so many great examples of it through my many, many years of coaching and teaching. The other thing is go to work, bring energy. Who better teaches kids how to go to work in school? Now, it's a little different. So, yeah, you work hard in the classroom. You work, you study, and all that kind of stuff. But when you work in the wrestling room, you ever watch wrestlers work out? I have. I learned a lot about coaching football by watching wrestlers and wrestling coaches. I coach high school swimming. You talk about work. I never worked a football player like I worked a swimmer. Those guys are crazy. You can't kill them. I mean, they're just unbelievable how they work. But I'll tell you this, hard work is not a form of punishment. And nobody teaches that better to a young student athlete than a coach. Hard work is a solution. And sooner or later, they have to learn it. But we spend so much time in our society to make it easier for them. I don't know if we get them prepared. I don't know if we get them prepared for what it's really going to be like. No one really has to work like they used to work in the same environments and all these kind of things. But I know this. There is no correlation between working less and getting better. Never has been and never will be. Never has been and never will be. These men that we honor tonight and the profession in itself teach people how to work. And I'm really, it's the biggest ally. There's a greater correlation between success and a great ingrained work ethic than any other attribute you are born with. Do you know how many bright people are behind bars today? 180,000 behind bars. Bright people. Probably a lot of them have some degrees and everything else. But I tell you, when you learn to work and direct your energies collectively together as a team, it is amazing what you learn as a person, what you learn as an athlete. There's just no greater correlation between those two things. Success is not a reward, it's a consequence. It's a consequence. Failure is not a form of punishment, it's a result of not doing the right things for the right reason for the right people. I don't think I've ever coached a football team that didn't bitch and moan. I've had them go out and strike. Saturday, I'll be in the locker room of the Rose Bowl because I'm honorary captain for the Stanford-UCLA game. That Rose Bowl championship team that beat Ohio State, that had been beaten 41-20 in the regular season by the Buckeyes, they were number one undefeated. We beat them in the Rose Bowl, okay? That team went out on strike on me the 6th day of practice in the 15 days they give us to get ready for the bowl game. But they didn't tell us they didn't limit us to how many times a day we could practice, and they didn't limit us to how much time we could spend on the field. And I made a mistake in the locker room saying, guys, after we beat USC, we're going to have a lot of fun going to the Rose Bowl. We're going to have a lot of fun. Oh, geez, we'll go to steakhouses. We'll go to Disneyland with everybody. We're going to, But no, we went to work. We went to work. Harder than they'd work in spring practice. And we kept all the young kids out because it was like having another spring practice for the young kids that probably weren't going to play in the game even. But we could coach them, and we got 15 days to make them better. Fifth, sixth day of practice, John Shire, the captain of the team, comes up from my office before I head down to the field and says, coaches, they aren't practice today. They aren't suiting up. They aren't suiting up. I said, what do you mean? He says, you said we were going to have fun going to the Rose Bowl. No one's having any fun. Honestly, it made national news all over the country. So, needless to say, I went down to the locker room. And I was pissed, okay? I'd go like that, you know. I 0 to 60 quickly, okay? And I let him have it. So I told him, you know, it's Christmas vacation. I might have a hard time finding enough students walking around campus that would like to play against Ohio State. But we're going to go to practice. And if you want to practice, fine. If you don't, go on home. Don't go home. And you know, the funny thing, coaches, you really get a kick out of this. The couple of real instigators of this whole attitude, they were guys that weren't even going to play in the game. One of them was pissed off because he wasn't getting as much for his ticket. Everyone used to sell tickets in the old days. Well, SC got so much money for the Rose Bowl tickets, they could pay for their room and board for a little while with the darn money. You know, we weren't getting any money. They were mad at everything. Well, you know, one by one, they eventually walked out on the practice field and worked the work and shut up. And we won the football game. I'm in the Rose Bowl Hall of Fame. I'm looking forward to seeing it on the wall. Not because I was a great football coach, because it's the upset of the history of the Rose Bowl. Biggest upset. It's considered the biggest upset in the history of the Rose Bowl. We were 19-point favorites. They were. Anyway, we taught them how to work. When we're together, there'll be about a dozen of them with me in the locker room after the ball game. You know the first thing they're going to talk about? How frickin' hard they worked and how they went out on strike but won. And now they talk about how proud they are of the fact that they applied what they did and the improvement they made in that period of time to go ahead and beat a national champion. No, you got to go to work. The other thing these guys have done a great job is, and you can sense it, they build relationships. They build relationships with everybody they work with, their coaches. They build relationships with their team, first string, second string, third string. I never made a division between a first string player and a third string player. They were all mine. I owned them. I always told the guys, listen, sooner or later you're going to be part of me. You may not like the part you get, but you're going to be part of me. But sooner or later you're going to appreciate it. Yeah. We say our main thing, our little motto was, main thing's the main thing. And the reason we come to work is the main thing is a win. And that's the only attitude we're going to work at, play at, and everything. We're going to build relationships around it. And, you know, when you have great relationships with your people, with your players, they give you permission to lead them. They trust you. Trust is not physical. Trust is emotional. The more emotionally connected in your relationship to the people you work with, the more you trust them. Right now, there is a series on Netflix documenting Medal of Honor winners. And they're documenting these people from birth through the service, honoring them posthumously in some cases, or then after services and everything else. And it's amazing what they talk about. They talk about relationships. It's amazing. You know, in football teams, wrestling teams are the same thing when it's been done right by like people that we're honoring here tonight. Now, I miss most is not having the daily relationship and communication with coaches and my players. And I always made it a real effort. I found out a long time ago, relationships and caring is something that has to be balanced when you get in the National Football League. And the number one advice I always give young coaches, and I've been called to ask, will you talk to my new coach? Number one, develop a relationship with your owner. Start there, okay? Then go on down into the squad and balance it. Because you can get so close to players sometimes that you won't make the decision that's really good for the organization. You're going to keep them around a couple more years because you just care about so much. And you can get by within one more year. That's not doing a great job of balancing your relationship, balancing how you care about your people. But anyway, build relationships. I know this, and I say this, and I've had people sort of doubt me when I say it. Relationships in competitive athletics from high school all the way into the NFL, can go from caring about each other to loving each other. It's not the same kind of love you have for your wife and your kids, but it's way beyond the respect, the normal, well, I respect you. There are times, I could give you a bunch of names. Hey, Jaworski, last thing he says to me all the time is, love you, coach. Now, I know he doesn't love me like Liz and his grandkids, but it goes way beyond respect. And there's not a great word in our vocabulary that puts you in that category. But love does. Love, and it's amazing. And, I thrive on it. I really do. And, sometimes I've initiated it. One time I get this at Kansas City. I'm back coaching the Chiefs, and I grabbed this kid, and God, I was so excited about he's coming along. And he'd been kicked around the league. And now he's going to be kicked around by me and how we do it. And all of a sudden, he's starting to play. And I hugged him, I hugged him like that, and he jumped back. He said, Coach, I've never been hugged by a white man. That's it. And he wasn't even laughing. He was dead serious. Dead serious. But I'll tell you this, I still hear from him. And the last thing he says on his phone message is, I love you, Coach. Yeah. Relationship building is critical. And the only way you can build great relationships is be honest. Be sincere. Tell the frickin' truth. Not everybody wants the truth. And you can tell the truth to somebody and not tear them down and eat them up alive. You can diplomatically put it in front of them. I can't tell you how many times I've had a kid come in. It's a common thing in the NFL. 2 weeks before training camp, they've been on the roster a couple of years, they're hanging on there, and they come in on, Coach, he says, geez, my wife's got to drive from California to Kansas City with the kids. School's going to start. Shall I tell them to pack? I said, don't tell them to pack the car yet. You haven't made the squad yet. If you told them the opposite, told them to pack the car, get the kids, and bring them to school, then cut them, you lose them. But when you tell them the truth, there's an old expression. Most of you in the business world really know this. It's true. If you have integrity, nothing else matters. If you don't have integrity, nothing else matters. And I have seen more fine coaches screw up their careers in breaking down, in not being willing to tell the truth. There's an expression in the Navy SEALs that says it's simple but not easy. It applies right there. Simple to tell the truth, but not always easy. And once a coach starts making his first mistake in covering up the truth, whatever he is he's covering up, the second one normally follows. And what happens? You lose credibility. It takes a long time to establish credibility, especially in the National Football League. Just take over a losing football team. Come to Philadelphia, take over that organization. You kidding me? Wow. No first round, no second round, no third round, your first round. No first round, no second round, no third round pick your second year. No first round, no third round your third year. And they've been losing? I'll tell you. Tell them one lie and you're going to continue losing. But you tell them the truth, it's amazing how it works. It works in every world that you made a living in. So we honor the kind of people I enjoy being with, that you enjoy celebrating. So thank you, Montgomery County, for honoring the right kind of people and giving me the opportunity to share these few moments. Thank you very much.
Wow. 17 years, the induction banquet, the Montgomery County Coaches Hall of Fame, and you just all witnessed one of the great highlights. Thank you, Dick. Thank you very much. After that, I can't say anything else except thank you for all of your support. Thank you for Presidential Caterers, our new home, and Montgomery County Community College, our new home for the plaques. And we look forward to seeing all of you the Tuesday before Thanksgiving next year.